Hello, everyone. How are you? I'm Nikki Hawkins. I'm the Vice President of Community Engagement and Strategic Partnerships for 6ABC WPVI TV. We are an ABC-owned television station serving a part of the Walt Disney Company. We serve Philadelphia and southeastern Pennsylvania, southern New Jersey, and Delaware. So welcome, everyone. We're so very good. We're so happy to have all of you here today for the third annual National Convening of Black Mayors. We're happy to partner on this effort, basically to create open and honest dialogue with leaders, diverse leaders from across the country, to help share the best practices, to help Black and brown businesses, small businesses grow and thrive, right? We at 6ABC have a campaign called Good Business, and where we partner with the African American Chamber. It's a digital series on this very topic, so please take a listen, 6abc.com/goodbusiness. And it has been an absolute pleasure working with this next woman I'm about to bring up. Hardworking, innovative, this fantastic woman leading the chamber. So without further ado, I'd love to bring to the stage the wonderful president and CEO of the African American Chamber of Commerce. Yes, give it up for Regina Hairston.
Well, good morning. Welcome to our esteemed mayors, distinguished guests, business owners, and valued participants. I am Regina A. Hairston, President and CEO for the African American Chamber of Commerce for Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. And I am proud to welcome you to the third annual National Convening of Black Mayors. Our convening today holds special significance as it coincides with our 30th anniversary, a testament to the 3 decades of unwavering commitment to champion the cause of Black business ownership and their invaluable role in our economies. This legacy underscores the importance of our dialogue today, and the time for such conversations is more pressing than ever in Philadelphia. And the broader tri-state region is urgent. There is an urgent need for this discussion being held today. To illustrate this need, an analysis conducted by Arizona State University found Philadelphia ranking 71 out of 80 cities for the ease of doing business for Black individuals. That's 70 cities outperform ours. Further compounding the issue, according to a study by the Pew Charitable Trust, Philadelphia has only 1.8 Black businesses per 1,000 residents, despite boasting an African American population of 40.8%. Through this gathering, the African American Chamber of Commerce endeavors to change the landscape of business at the local and state levels. This platform allows us to brainstorm actionable solutions, share successful policies, and build relationships that drive individual and collective success. Our collective strength can help the region and other cities like ours improve conditions for Black businesses. By engaging in this critical conversation, we can highlight strategies to ease barriers and close the pervasive racial wealth gap estimated to endure for 228 years under current conditions. This is our shared objective and ambition. I would like to thank our 11 mayors for joining us today. Please allow me to introduce Raz Baraka, Mayor of Newark, New Jersey, Darren Burrell, Mayor of Darby, PA, Dr. Hardy Davis Jr., former Mayor of Augusta, Georgia, Derek Wood, Mayor of Dumfries, Virginia, Waylon Hobbs Jr., Mayor of Hempstead, New York, Michael Nutter, former Mayor of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Frank Scott Jr., Mayor of Little Rock, Arkansas, Derek Slaughter, Mayor of Williamsport, PA, Marty Small, Sr., Mayor of Atlantic City, New Jersey, and Judy Ward, Mayor of Pleasantville, New Jersey. Can we give them all a round of applause, please? Mayors who have attended past convenings have borne witness to the power of these discussions, using the tools and strategies they've gleaned to revitalize their approaches, pioneer new initiatives, and forge lasting relationships that amplify their impact on Black businesses and local economies. Their experience served not only as inspirational success stories, but also as proof of what we can accomplish when we come together. In light of these statistics from ASU and Pew, our goal becomes even more significant. We aim to increase the presence and success of Black businesses, inspire one another, and work collectively to uplift Black economies. These discussions provide an opportunity to identify our strengths and areas for improvement, enabling us to drive change and enhance the business climate for Black entrepreneurs. As we mark this important occasion, the 30th anniversary of the AACC, we reflect on our journey thus far. We celebrate our achievements and milestones, but we recognize the enormity of the task ahead. We have an obligation to continue this important work, and your participation here today is crucial in that endeavor. As I officially open the third annual National Convening of Black Mayors, I would like to express my heartfelt appreciation for your commitment and belief in the transformative power of Black businesses. May our discussions be insightful, our collaborations productive, and our collective efforts bring us closer to an equitable future where Black businesses thrive and prosper. Without further ado, I want to turn the conversation over to our chairman, Javon Goldstein.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and esteemed members, Board of Directors of the African American Chamber of Commerce, good morning. Thank you, Regina, for the introduction. Is it a pleasure to stand before you today in the vibrant city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, as we gather to address the critical issues of Black entrepreneurship, equity, business scalability, and capacity building. I want to first thank our sponsors, who are generous in nature. First, our day one, they've been with us all 3 years, TD Bank. Secondly, 6ABC, another day one, been with us all 3 years. The African American Chamber Museum in Philadelphia, Top Dog Cocktails, AT&T, Rivers Casino, Team Clean, Maven Inc., MFR Consultants, and we'd like to thank additionally our partners, the Philadelphia Citizen, P4 Hub, Bellevue Strategies, and High Touch Enterprises. Today, we come together for a pivotal roundtable discussion where mayors and Black leaders from across the country will engage in exchange of ideas, strategies, and solutions to increase both capacity and density of Black-owned businesses. This discussion takes place in a time in Philadelphia that we are exploring new leadership, and the African American Chamber of Commerce seeks to address alarming statistics surrounding Black ownership, density, disparities in our wealth and Black communities. The significance of this roundtable discussion cannot be overstated. It is a unique opportunity to leverage the collective wisdom and experience of mayors who have been in the forefront of driving change and progress in their respective cities. Together, we will identify barriers that hinder the growth of Black-owned businesses and work towards developing actionable strategies that will empower our communities and create a more equitable economic landscape. Filmed and streamed by 6ABC, this roundtable discussion will serve as a beacon of inspiration and a catalyst for transformation. It will amplify our voices, disseminate our ideas, and engage a wider audience in a crucial conversation about economic empowerment of Black businesses. Today, we do call upon our esteemed Black mayors and leaders to share their successes and be honest with your challenges as well, and your innovative approaches to driving economic growth and reducing disparities. By fostering collaboration, harnessing collective wisdom, and embracing innovative thinking, we can develop impactful solutions that will uplift Black businesses, narrow the racial wealth gap, and create sustainable economic opportunities for all. I extend my gratitude to 6ABC for their invaluable partnership, not only today, but in past practices, and capturing and disseminating the insights and strategies that emerge from this discussion. By joining forces, we amplify our message, reach a wider audience, and mobilize support for the economic power of business. Let us embrace the spirit of collaboration and innovation as we embark on this transformative roundtable discussion. May our collective wisdom, dedication, and passion ignite a path forward that leads to economic parity, thriving Black businesses, and vibrant communities. May this Mayor's Roundtable discussion at the 3rd Annual National Convening of Black Mayors serve as a catalyst for change, propelling us towards a future where every entrepreneur, regardless of their background, has an equal opportunity to succeed and thrive. And I'll leave you with this, because we just went through a primary election here in Philadelphia. We have about 1 million registered, like 1.025 to be technical, of registered voters. And then about 278,000 voted. That's about 27%. And it's, we need to promote engagement. And, it's an African proverb that everyone can learn from. And basically it states simply that if you do not engage the young in the community to have a stake in the society, then they will have no issues with burning it down. So we have to make sure that we engage our youth. And with that said, I would like to bring on our key sponsor, TD Bank, Damian Gee. Thank you.
So good morning, everyone. I'm Damian Gee, Senior Vice President and Regional Vice President for Greater Philadelphia at TD Bank, also affectionately called Day Ones for this amazing event for the 3rd year in a row. I'm pleased to welcome this distinguished group of public officials to Philadelphia. As leaders of the cities and towns across the country, you know how critical small businesses are to our local and national economies. TD also understands the important role diverse businesses play, and we're committed to helping them grow and overcome financial challenges through effective solutions, resources, and our convenient banking model. According to the U.S. Census data, the number of African American business owners in operation has climbed to 1.5 million, which is up 38% from February of 2020. I had an opportunity to go to one of our neighboring schools for Senator Vincent Hughes to talk about banking and entrepreneurship, and I can tell you it's alive and well in our schools. Number of kids asking about, how do I grow net worth? How do I own my own business? So, continuing to support that effort and impact really starts with the youth and continues through adulthood. This shows that the entrepreneurial spirit is alive in our communities despite clear hardships experienced during the past few years. These businesses continue to need access funding more than ever, and TD is supporting our business customers by first getting to know them and their business and offering tailored financial solutions to meet their unique needs. As you're thinking about growing your business, we have SBA financing. As you think about your payable solutions, we have opportunities for that to continue to grow. And businesses of all sizes can get assigned a relationship manager at TD so they can have a local contact and advocate. And one of the things that we did start, we created a community business development officer role in Tommy Berner. His sole role is to focus on connecting with minority-owned, LGBT-owned, women-owned businesses all across Philadelphia and PA and New Jersey. And TD Bank has continued to make market-wide efforts in the U.S. to become the bank of choice for Black communities and minority-owned businesses, and we are committed to providing access to financial services across our diverse customer base and communities that we serve. It's clear that diversity and inclusion are essential focuses of TD as a purpose-driven brand. We can better serve our customers when our employees and locations represent our diverse communities. In the end, public-private community cooperation will help businesses of all types thrive, and we look forward to learning more this morning about Black businesses and how we can be a trusted advisor to the community. Now, we'd like to introduce our moderator for today's roundtable, 6ABC Action News anchor for 5 p.m. and 10 p.m. news, Shari Williams. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Thank you so much for that introduction and all of our warm welcomes that we received today. And we're so glad, of course, to have so many of you here in the studio with us for this important conversation, a conversation that, as you have heard, we started 3 years ago, and we are continuing to have it. So I really want to make it very clear, we have visionary leaders who are in the building with us today and who are here to share their insights, their challenges. We do have some questions that we, of course, will be centering around, but as this conversation goes, we'll see where the questions take us. And so as our moderator this year for the third year in a row, I'm Shari Williams with 6ABC. We're so glad to be a part of this important conversation and to have all of you here who are listening and the thousands more, of course, who will hear this. So as we talk about our first panel, I would like to introduce a little bit further on who's joining us here in this first part of our conversation. Ras Baraka is here with us, the mayor of Newark, New Jersey. Mayor Baraka's steadfast leadership and dedication to social justice, education, and also economic development have all helped to transform the state of Newark now into a more vibrant and inclusive city, full of promise and also potential. We also have with us this morning Mayor Marty Small, Sr., the mayor of Atlantic City in New Jersey, graces us with us presence today as well, has been here with us before. Dedication to economic revitalization, tourism, community engagement, all of this happening in the city of Atlantic City, a premier destination as well. We'll talk more about the tourism that is happening there. Also joining us today, Darren Burrell, mayor of Darby, Pennsylvania. Mayor Burrell has been instrumental in fostering the economic opportunities and enhancing community engagement, also working to improve quality of life for the residents there. Also honored to have with us Mayor Frank Scott of Little Rock. Frank Scott Jr., Little Rock, Arkansas. Mr. Scott has been a catalyst for change in his city there, spearheading initiatives that promote equality, inclusivity, also development, making Little Rock a model for progressive governance. We look forward to hearing more about that. Finally, here on our first panel, returning with us is Derek Slaughter, mayor of Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Mayor Slaughter's commitment has been centered around a sense of community and unity, promoting diversity, also revitalizing the city's infrastructure, hoping and helping to usher in a bit of a new era of prosperity and progress for Williamsport. So we'll be hearing from these gentlemen here in the first panel. I would like to say in the second panel, because we do have another group coming up, in that group we'll have Mayor Judy Ward of Pleasantville, New Jersey, Dr. Hardy Davis Jr. of Augusta, Georgia, Mayor Michael Nutter of Philadelphia, former mayor, also Mayor Waylon Hobbs Jr. of Hempstead, New York, and also Mayor Derek Wood of Dumfries, Virginia. And so together we do realize that we have a group who is about innovation and also looking at, I'm sure, what has happened prior to you being in the seats that you hold and where you're trying to go. I would like to just quickly go down the panel here before I get into my first question. When we look at where we are in this time frame, the different issues that we know are being faced in our cities, what are really like the 2 words, if you don't mind, quickly here, that are top of mind for you, maybe you're focused on, or your outlook here in the rest of your term? Mayor Baraka, let's start with you. Just 2 words.
Collaboration is one. Without that, there's nothing that we can accomplish. We can't accomplish as long as we collaborate. The second one, for me, would be, just positivity, like a positive outlook. As a leader, you don't have the luxury of pessimism, that you have to be optimistic. You can't take people places you don't see.
Great, great. Mayor Small.
Yes. First and foremost, my 2 priorities are the taxpayers, number 1, and quality of life programming centered around our newly created Division of Youth, Recreation, Senior, and Multicultural Service, which includes the first LGBTQ plus coordinator in the city of Atlantic City. And just like the mayor said, we have problems, but it's my job as the leader to keep things on a positive note. That's why no matter what's going on in Atlantic City, it's a great day here in the city of Atlantic City.
Yes, sir. Mr. Burrell.
Well, the first word that comes to me is believe, because we need to start believing in our communities is number 1. Believe that we can do something special. And that's the one thing is about what our community is. We're pretty much age community, so we have a lot of, about 50 55% of our town is basically over 55 plus. So we got to believe in our youth too. Instead of just patronizing these guys and just kind of just throw them away, it's just believing that we can actually do something more than we've ever done before. The second one is quality of life. Mayor just mentioned that is quality of life is not just about having quality businesses that you can walk into. It's about being able to have open space too. I'm a firm believer in believing in open space, walking trails, bike trails, and those type of things as well. So those are two things I'm really focused on.
Mayor Scott.
I would say the two things that we're focused on in the city of Little Rock is transformation and stewardship. We believe that we can be the catalyst for the New South, and having that progressive mindset, also with the equity mindset, helps us to prove that. But secondly, as we continue to focus on how we're changing, we got to also understand that we are the stewards of the people's dollar, as not only the people's dollar, the people's resources.
And lastly, here on the end, Mayor Slaughter.
I would say community and engagement. We have a lot of economic development happening in Williamsport right now. We're the economic hub for the county and really the center part of North Central PA. And so we need to let our businesses and our community know what resources are available to them to continue that development. And engagement would be the second one, just staying engaged, keeping our residents engaged, our youth, and our community as a whole. So a lot of opportunity happening right now in Williamsport. We're going to continue to grow that.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear where you guys stand, and we'll just go from there as we take our questions. Mayor Baraka, let's talk about what's happening in Newark under your leadership. You definitely have focused on working to promote affordable housing. You've received actually national recognition for the work that you're doing there, and also trying to really get an entrepreneurial ecosystem really going there. Given the progress that has been made, I really want to ask you, really, how are you doing it? You know, what are the strategies and initiatives that you have implemented in the city to make that engine go?
Well, necessity is the mother of invention. 78% of the people in our city rent. The average income is about $34,000, $35,000 for families of 2 or 3. Average property costs, because of the value of the property is increasing, because of the investment happening in the city, is about $350,000. So that means that most residents can't afford the development that's happening in the city. So we have to create these programs. We have to create programs that create home ownership. So we're doing that. We are thinking of everything we possibly can. We have a land bank in the city of Newark, the only city in the state of New Jersey that has a land bank.
Explain that for us, for those who aren't keeping up with the economics when you say the land bank, and how that really separates you and the state of New Jersey.
On the private side, well, they just passed a state legislation 4 or 5 years ago that allow us to do this. On the private side, people land bank by buying all of the property up, and they sit on it for weeks, months, years, until they feel like selling it. They accumulate all this property. The city gets an opportunity to do the same thing. We acquire all of these properties, and we begin to use those properties for our benefit. We create land trusts, create areas of the city that have to remain affordable. We become innovative with selling our property. So, when property is sold through the city, you have to go through all of this red tape. You have to go through council meetings. You have to do all these things. It's more difficult. There's set prices. The land bank can sell you a property, for example, for $1. The land bank can give you a side lot of your property for $100, right?
So it's really the flexibility, Mayor, that it gives you.
It gives you the flexibility to do different things that you can't do as a city. It also allows you to foreclose or take foreclosed properties and use them in ways that the city can't use them, and speed that process up. So the land bank gives us is a tool that we use to acquire property, acquire a bunch of parcels and put them all together. So that's what the land bank is used for. In our sense, we're using it to sell property to city residents, to change folks who were in public housing for generations into homeowners. We changed their voucher into homeowners. We can sell property to individuals for $1. We can set the rate of property values through the land bank, and we do that. And we have to do this because we have to make it available to people who do not have the opportunity to have this property. Without that, they would not be able to, Newark residents, a lion's share of them would not be able to assume any of these properties without the kind of innovative and creative work that we're doing through the land bank. So we have to do it that way.
And the statistics, they show us and they tell us home ownership
Right.
is the bedrock of wealth for families. And as we know, people of color have traditionally been shut out on purpose by our own government so that we would not have the opportunity to be homeowners. So tell me then how the land bank and the work you're doing specifically empowers Black people and people of color.
Well, that's the intention of it. I mean, because since government was responsible for it, it's also government's responsibility not to equalize it, but to repair. And so our efforts to repair decades of deliberate and intentional disenfranchisement of Black families, this is our opportunity to fix that, right, in our own way, to create chances for folks to get a piece of property. And since the values of property are going up in the city of Newark because of the investment, that means they have instant equity. You know, you get into a property for $1, whatever it costs for you to fix it, $150,000, $200,000 at a property that's worth about $400,000. You have instant equity when you walk in the door.
May I ask, how tangible is that for your residents? How often is this becoming to fruition?
We just did about a dozen families, Section 8. That is actually growing. We have hundreds of people that are signing up. We just need to get as many properties as we can on the rolls so they can actually transform themselves from renters to homeowners. So it is happening, as rapidly as we can move as government. It's like moving a submarine, but as rapidly as we can get the properties into their hands and taking them through classes. So they have to go through these classes because once they get the property, we want them to keep it, right? We want to be able to maintain it and understand what equity is, and all the other things that go along with that, homeowners insurance, taxes, all of the things that you have to deal with when you actually own a piece of property.
Sure, because I'm going to imagine those who have not been exposed to it, then there is quite a bit of a learning curve to get up to speed on how to maintain the ownership. What level of pushback are you seeing? I believe that we're accustomed to when certain economic ideas are rolled out, there will be some on the other side who say, look at this handout. Look at what you're giving away. Have you experienced those voices? What is the challenge that you may have seen?
I haven't heard them, but I'm sure they're out there.
Yeah.
I'm more than positive that people may be upset that they'll say, well, I worked hard for my property. This guy is giving it away for $1. I think there was a whole effort by the United States government, right after World War II, to make sure they created a middle-class economy that created roads to suburbs so people could work in the city and still, live in other parts of the community. They set up, HUD was created around this. Home ownership corporation was created to make sure they give low interest loans or no interest loans to white working class families so they can be able to have home ownership. So what you see now is really because of a foundation that was set deliberately by the United States government to make sure they created a middle class in this country. And at the same time, they built projects in neighborhoods where I lived at, where were densely populated places of poverty. They created that and redlined communities and discouraged investment in those communities by matter of law and by matter of policy. They did this. And so as a result of that, we see what we see now. You see communities that are not filled with homeowners. You see poor access to health care because they discourage the development of hospitals, poor access to food because they discourage the development of supermarkets. And so we have to deliberately go against that and create an opportunity for folks who were denied opportunity for decades. And we do this by being as innovative as we can, not only with home ownership, but with entrepreneurship, getting people access to contracts, as we talked about yesterday, giving people contracts, giving them opportunity to get access to funding so they can have capital and use this capital to pay out the folks that work for them, to balance their balance sheets, to do all the other things that other companies do. We have to give this to them up front so they're able to compete, right? If not, they can't compete and they will not be able to do business.
Yeah. Mayor Baraka, thanks for that informed response, and we'll talk more about the economics that are happening in Newark. I want to go now to Mayor Marty Small and shifting to what's happening in your city, in Atlantic City there. Under your visionary leadership, and we know we cover you very regularly here at 6ABC, you are one out front talking about what's happening there and trying to make Atlantic City even more vibrant. Recently, the revitalization that's happening in the city, a part of it through that $2.5 $6.7 billion development plan that's happening at the iconic Baderfield property. It's about trying to reimagine the space and how the money is used. Would you elaborate a bit in regards to trying to specifically what that's going to look like, how it's going to benefit, of course, your entire city, but where are you being intentional on bringing in people of color to benefit from such a major investment?
Well, let me start by telling the Atlantic City revenue story because it's important. It all, ties in. Let's go to COVID when our casinos were closed, and for a period of time, through law, we could only let 25% of the guests and workers in the building. So while the industry was crumbling, the city government was excelling. Automatically, the rating agencies, Moody's and Standard & Poor's, downgraded us, gave us a bad outlook until they did the interview. And we told the Atlantic City story that despite what was happening around us, 97.6% of taxes were collected to sustain the city. I didn't have to utter the F word, furloughs. I didn't have to utter the L word, layoffs, during that time when municipalities near and far were struggling. That takes us to today, when the state of New Jersey, between 22.9% and 24% hikes in health benefits when they gave the state a 3% break. We had to bear that. We, as of June 1st, we're going with an independent plan, same coverage, apples to apples. And when you look at that situation, a lot of municipalities around us are having tax increases. Even though we budgeted and we know that we're going to save between 1.5 and 6 million, north of 6 million, which I believe, we still were prepared, and we still have that 22 to 24% increase budgeted in our budget, but we have a 5.23 cent tax decrease. Historically, we always complained in the great city of Atlantic City. According to the state's own data, $454.5 million left the great city of Atlantic City, which should have stayed in the city of Atlantic City, meaning luxury tax, parking tax, room tax, now sports gaming. And if everyone in this city took a ride to Atlantic City and stayed 2 days, when you check in your hotel, that's room tax. When you buy a drink or a ticket to a concert, that's luxury tax. When you park your car, that's parking tax. If you go bet on a sporting event, that's sports gaming. To the listening audience out there, guess how much money that the residents of Atlantic City benefited from your 2-day stay doing all those things? Thank you. Zero.
And so where's the money been going?
That is impossible. But under my leadership, working with the state government, we now get $2 per room per night, and it goes to public safety, which help offset the city's budget.
So was it being rerouted, Mayor, to the state?
No, it's legacy costs from bonds from the convention center and others that haven't expired yet. Mm-hmm. So I don't understand how that sports gaming, which New Jersey is in the top 2 in the country, and the hotels are always crowded, and Super Bowl, NCAA tournament, we still don't get a penny from it. It goes to the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority. But I'm working with the front office, the governor's office, to get a legacy revenue stream, $5 million, increasing it $250,000 per year for the taxpayers to ease the burden. I'm saying that now to say, Baderfield, $2.7 billion development. The detractors will tell you that, oh, Atlantic City's putting a racetrack at Baderfield. Tell a story all the time. We're not doing IndyCar, we're not doing NASCAR, we're not doing Formula One, we're not doing Grand Prix. This is a multi-facet industry development that will feature one of the nation's first micro-hydrogen grid. All the electricians, the industry are coming here to Atlantic City to have that development, and it's centered around auto enthusiasts. I'm not in love with the track, but I'm in love with what it does for our taxpayers, and I'm gonna explain that in a minute. So what it is, Baderfield is the first airport in the country. It's 144 unobstructed views of the Atlantic City Bay and the skyline at the old airport. Many have tried, even the state tried to do a design competition, which failed. We have a great development team. The city has entered into a memorandum of understanding, which allows this developer a 6-month exclusive period to do their due diligence. Once this project is complete, we do a redevelopment agreement, and it's a mix of hotels, car condos, a museum, and automotive school, which we could put our kids that graduate from Atlantic City High School, because there's a shortage in the automotive industry, and make them mechanics and make them start their salary with $65,000 plus a year. And on the Albany Avenue side, it's going to feature a lot of restaurants and shopping. So with that, the city would sell the property to the developer for $100 million. Why is that important? I talked about tax relief and us not getting revenue. The city will now have that revenue to offset the tax rate for many, many years to come. Our rateable base went from $20.6 billion in 2010 to, as of this conversation, $2.3 billion. With this project, our rateable base will more than double just with this project. On top of that, 3 years from now, we call it a cliff internally, $13 million is going to come off our budget, which will save the taxpayers $13 million on top of the $100 million that we have. And we want to hold people accountable. They're going to make sure that minorities are involved in that $2.7 billion. We already talked to them to make sure that we get our fair share and get a piece of that pie of all of that money coming through the great city of Atlantic City. And a town like Atlantic City, a $5 billion casino industry, we don't have a recreation center, community center of our own. So the developer on their dime is going to build a $15 million state-of-the-art recreation community center as a result of that project, the jobs, the multiple industries, and more. And that's how you got to hold people accountable. Speak truth to power and stand for the people of Atlantic City. And that's what this administration has done.
Yeah, and we can hear that in the plan that you're putting together. I think that's one of the elements of politics that can really make people turned off about it is I do this, you do this. But when it's about things that are for the people and voicing, hey, these are the things that we need out of this if this is going to come here. I think that is exactly what a mayor is supposed to do. Stand firm for that. Marty Small, thank you, sir, so much for that information. I want to go now to Mayor Darren Burrell of Darby, Pennsylvania, leading that borough of just over 10,000 residents there. And it's a majority of minority people in Darby, 90% of the population, people of color. Mayor Burrell, if you could just give us some insight then on the unique economic challenges that the businesses and business owners are facing there and how you're working to help overcome them.
Well, first is I want to give you guys some of the demographics of our town because we're just over 10,000 people, and Mayor Barack down there, he changed my whole direction on this. Is that one thing I did not mention is that the one thing that most of our people own is only their homes. And I was on council for 4 years, and I would sit there and I would let these guys know, you own your home, so how can we raise the property values of our home? Because that's building wealth for our people. So that's something that I really, really focus on. I should have said that earlier. That's
so a different dynamic from what's happening in Newark.
Absolutely.
The majority of your residents own their homes.
Well, about 60% own their homes.
Okay.
And also the renters that are there, they're not owner occupied. They're owned by one landlord, not like a conglomerate of landlords. So it's one person may own their childhood home, or would it say, or something like that. That's really, you get a lot of that going on. So these guys really still own their homes. They buy and pay, they're renting to their cousins or their brothers, or it's a lot of that going on. And I found that very interesting what the mayor from Newark was saying. You and I definitely have to get together and talk about how can we keep these people in their homes and how can we raise their property values, because quality of life is something that we don't talk enough about. Quality of life is going to eventually raise your property values, right? It's correct. It's just the way it is. If you have clean streets and those type of things. And our town's a little bit different because we're right on the border of Philadelphia. So I have all the Philadelphia problems. I have all the problems that Philadelphia has. It's all there. But to give you a baseline of what that is that our budget is $8 million total. $8 million.
Not a lot to work with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
So they charge 9 council people and myself with $8 million to fight the crime, fight the schools. We have to fight all this, all of that kind of nonsense that we're fighting from. And it's not coming just from Philadelphia, it's a cultural thing. So what we do is we went back to policing, community policing. There's no more just driving around in your car and just getting out and just yelling and screaming at people. We don't do that. You got to talk to these guys, because when you're in town, 10,000 people, we all know each other, and that goes back to that whole belief thing. Like, of course, I'm nervous, though, heck, of course. But going back to that is going belief, because what I do personally is my entire family, we spend most of our dollars within our community. We try to, at least. We go to the local supermarket. We go right down to the local stores. We go help these guys out. And when they see, I'm not really a vocal mayor where you come out and say, look at me. I'm not really into that. What I do is I put my money where my mouth is. Quite literally, I go down and I buy the clothes from the guys on Main Street. We have to start doing that as leaders, is going into our communities, not pointing at them, and actually going and patronizing them. My kid is in the school with every other school, like I can pay for private school and go do that. We can go do that. But no, she's in a regular school with everyone else, and you got to truly believe in your community. It's the only way we can really do something special in our communities, if we believe as people to go inside there and actually truly patronize these businesses. And we've noticed that it's been an uptick of quality businesses coming into our town. And also, these quality businesses come into our town, we have to actually let them know. Minority business, we have one that's coming. They're investing about $4 million into our town in a big convenience store, gas station type of thing. I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but to us, it's a
Well,
big
you just
deal.
mentioned your budget is $8 million.
Exactly.
You've got $44 million coming in.
It's a huge deal for us.
Yes, that's half of what you.
Exactly, it's a huge deal for us, but it's a minority business owner. We have to support them, because they don't know the nuances of it is to do development in our town. It's a little bit different in Philadelphia. Everything is written out. In small towns, everything isn't exactly written out. Just the way so we have to sit down with these guys and go over step by step everything that you have to do to come into our town, and we have to support that business. Once it's there, we have to do this. We have to do these type of things. And also, something that we worked on too is getting quality housing, because the last home that was built in my town was 1978. Wow. There was no development in this town since 1978. So you got to think about it like that. It's like, how can why would, as a young professional, because I have a whole professional career outside of politics, as a young professional, why would you move here? We got to start attracting the young professionals instead of moving somewhere else, and truly believing and investing in our community. That's something I really, really focus on, because of course all my guys I went to college with, they're moving all over the place.
Sure. And so what's the plan there to market, you know, as you say, you're so close to Philadelphia. Those in your town can just drive right over and do their shopping and do their business next door.
First off, we're safe. That's another thing. We're very, very safe community. You're going to see the police around. You're going to not just see them, they're going to talk to you. They're going to say hi to you. They patronize our stores as well. So you'll see that. You'll feel very safe in there. And we're only 8 minutes away from the airport, which is something that people don't talk about in our community. You can't change geography. And our town is totally just geography. It is what it is that you can't change that. We're right 8 minutes from the airport, and we're 12 minutes away from Center City on the train. You can't beat that. So what we're doing is trying to incrementally, again, we're in only 0.8 square miles. So we're trying to implement small little changes, build a house here, and some of our open spaces. So it's a little bit different. We can't do it in a large game because it's 0.8 miles. So that's part of our challenges that we're having. So we have the open spaces. We don't know what to do with those. That's why the mayor, Barack, you came up with a great idea with the land bank. We need to start going after some of these properties. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because a lot of business owners, they are landlords. They own the properties, and they just don't do anything with it.
Yeah, and that's really what our convening of the mayors is about, so that we can hear these ideas and know when to feel they're in a silo. I'm sure it can feel that way at times, but hopefully you all can draw upon each other while we're here. Thank you so much, Mr. Burrell, for the insight that you shared. I want to move now to Mayor Frank Scott of Little Rock. And one of the things, as a girl and woman who grew up in the South, and I heard you say, you know, where are we going to take this thing in the New South? And we all know the history of our southern states in this country, and some of that still rears its head today. When you reference talking about the New South and your words being about transformation, take us inside. What's happening in Little Rock? What are your biggest challenges? And also, what's the demographic and makeup of your city?
Sure, I would say Little Rock is truly a microcosm of the United States. We're both urban and rural at the same time. We're the largest city in a very small state. We're one of 50 unique cities in the United States, being a state capital city. So we have the same realities as a Memphis, an Atlanta, and a Dallas. Only difference is our population. And in the growing sense of things, when you really talk about a city, you really have to be understanding, okay, who actually lives in the city and not necessarily the metro. And when you really drum down to that, we're all pretty much the same size, between 200,000 to 500,000, unless you're part of the big four cities from that particular standpoint. And so when you kind of level set understanding that, Little Rock now is what I now call is 57% global majority. What does that look like? It's 45% African American, 45% black rather, 6% Latino, and then the remaining amounts are Asian Pacific Islander, and then of course the white standpoint. And so we're now, again, a global majority. 10 years ago, that wasn't necessarily the case. We continue to see the black population grow in the city of Little Rock. If you understand the history of the city of Little Rock, the Little Rock Nine, none of us here today are not going to be mayor without the Little Rock Nine, who integrated the schools of Little Rock Central High Crisis in 1957. So you take that from a standpoint is, it took until from 1957 to December 4th, 2018 for Little Rock to have its first black elected mayor of the city of Little Rock. Wow. And so, but thank you. But when you think about that situation is, we're 57% global majority. I was born in 1983. Little Rock has always been somewhere between 40 to 42% black. First elected black mayor in 2018. What does that mean? It's called understanding government. I tell everyone, economic power begets political power. Right. Political power begets economic power. And many times, if we're not playing in the economy or the politics, we are powerless. So now we push forward what we've been focusing on. I think as my job as the CEO is also to be the Chief Growth Officer. In the past 4 years, now going into my second term, we've brought close to 10,000 new jobs into the city of Little Rock. That's a historic feat. And we're very grateful for that. We're one of 2 mid-sized cities in the South that actually grew population. We're at now 205,000 as far as our particular population. And what we're doing in our city is we're being very intentional. We're being very innovative and being very inclusive in what we do, what I call equitable economics. And at the end of the day, we are all sitting in these seats to make decisions. And many times, those of us that sit in these seats, we make decisions to ensure that we get reelected. It's our job to make decisions to ensure that we take care of the people. Right. And if we get unelected because of that, great. Because if you're a leader, the whole job of being a leader is to ensure that you are changing. I didn't sign up, none of us signed up to be managers. Managers keep things rolling.
That's right.
You want to be a catalyst for change. Yes, sir. Yeah. Mr. Scott, you're also president of the African American Mayors Association. Is that still the case?
Immediate pass as of April 21st.
Okay.
So I passed the gavel to Mount Vernon, New York Mayor, Sean Patterson Howard. Very grateful for her and what she's been able to do. So I've been blessed to be the president for the past year. We also have another immediate past president of the African American Mayors Association, Mayor Hardy Davis as well. And so what you're seeing right now, and for those of you who aren't aware, black mayors represent close to 500 plus cities across this nation. That's small, medium, and large. And now the 4 most populous cities are led by black men and black women. And when you look at the top 20, 10 of the top 20 are led by black men and black women. Our average GDP right now, we run close to 1/3 of the nation's GDP. But here's the thing. It's up to us to make decisions that are intentional, innovative, and inclusive, because we can have all the power in the world. Right. But if we're not using it, it's not advancing our people. And
yeah, because as we know, as a population, as an ethnic group, we have a tremendous amount of spending power. But when we look at then where are we with wealth, there is a major gap there.
And that's something as we charge, we as politicos are going to do what we need to do to help you all in the business sector. But we also need you all in the business sector to be just as intentional. Just as intentional on how we deal with each other, just as intentional how we do business with one another, and just as intentional on being and taking what I call corporate justice to the boardroom. At the end of the day, it's past time that we still saying first black CEO here, right. First black CEO there. we got to continue to push that. And if we can't be the CEO in that corporate, guess what? Start our own business. And so,
thank you so much for those words, Mayor Scott. It sounds like for sure you are aware of the landscape. And I would imagine in those roles, when you are sitting in those seats, you have the opportunity to connect with those 500 plus black men and women across this country and help steer sometimes the agenda and where we need to go. So thanks for all that you're doing. I want to move now to our mayor from Williamsport, Derek Slaughter, and what's happening there. Mayor Slaughter, your dedication to addressing the pressing economic issues in your city, it's been pretty evident during your tenure so far, such an issue about the business development and putting forth some comprehensive solutions. You know, in light of what's going on, I do want to ask you about the utilization of the American Rescue Plan and how that act, how did it play out in Williamsport? How did you use those dollars and where are those dollars going? And maybe some examples of the positive impact and what's happening for small and black-owned businesses.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate in Williamsport, and what the mayor said about being intentional. For Williamsport, we have about a $25.5 million budget, and we received about $25.5 million of ARPA money. So for us to have a year's budget from ARPA was extremely beneficial. So we leveraged just a few $1 million of our ARPA that was allowed us to have about $100 million of economic development in the city of Williamsport that's happening or about to happen. So that's been huge for us in areas that were stagnant, dilapidated. You know, we know historically speaking, that's where, you know, a lot of the underserved population, the black and brown businesses are in those corridors. So we've been very intentional of having that development take place there. In and around our downtown area as well, we have 2 colleges, development happening there. And then we've got the attention of outside developers, a diverse group of developers that are now seeing what's happening in Williamsport, and they want to be a part of that. And to the mayor's point earlier, we have to make sure we're not creating additional red tape for folks that want to invest in our community, particularly folks of a diverse background that want to come in and either start commercial development or small minority black-owned business, that we are able to facilitate that and make it easier for them and not more difficult. So for us in Williamsport, to have about $100 million of development is just critical. We've never really seen that before. We've also done, from a city standpoint, we allocated monies. We started a business improvement grant program for nonprofits and businesses. We put about $1 million towards that. That program is getting ready to kick off actually tomorrow. And we're hopeful, again, that getting out into the community, our black and brown owned businesses and our small businesses will take advantage of that program, monies that have not been available before. And so that's going to leverage, hopefully, the businesses that are already there and to grow and create new businesses in our community. We're also, again, to the land bank point, we started a land bank as well. We made it part of our redevelopment authority. And so we've allocated monies to that, again, for blight remediation, blight elimination in our underserved neighborhoods that, again, historically see more blight than other neighborhoods in our community. So we've just been very, very intentional about how we're spending our ARPA dollars, how we're allocating those monies, what neighborhoods and businesses we're investing in, and making sure that it's a level playing field, that it's equitable, and that we see growth across all of our community, whether it's economic development, infrastructure, public safety, parks and recreation. We really have been extremely intentional in all areas in our community. And I think that's why you're seeing that what's happening in Williamsport, it's sort of historic. It's never happened before. And we're really excited. We want to continue that momentum. We're getting calls just about every week. I had 2 fiber companies call me within the last couple of weeks. We're going to start fiber infrastructure in our community, which again, that's going to lead to the growth and development of small businesses, black and brown owned businesses, which are the fabric of our community, as we all know. So we have to make sure, one, that the businesses are there, can sustain themselves, and then that's going to provide an opportunity for new business and growth.
How does that look in Williamsport? What % of the businesses there are of diverse ownership?
Well, in Williamsport, not that many, to be honest with you. We've been intentional in my term. I'm just finished up my first term right now. We've seen a number of them start, but the goal is, we were just talking the last month or so, we really want to create sort of a black-owned organization where business owners can get together and learn from each other, work with each other. Back in February, we had the first of its kind event in Williamsport during Black History Month. We had a night of empowerment conversations with black professionals. It was a networking event for college students and black and brown owned businesses to come. Jovan and Regina were part of that panel, part of that event. So we're very fortunate to have them and host them up in Williamsport. And something like that has never happened before. A lot of our businesses that are in place, and some of our black and brown owned businesses that have been there for a while, still don't understand the resources that are available to them, and or don't have the capacity to take advantage of those resources. So we wanted to bring Regina, Jovan, and others up to explain to them, what does that look like? How can you gain access to capital, to other resources that might be available to you? And that night, that event led to some great conversation, some great resources for current businesses and others that were considering opening a business but don't know how to do that. What does that look like for us? Especially in Williamsport, we're about 30,000, but we're definitely the largest, most diverse city in our region. And so how do we capitalize on all of those resources that are available that our businesses just don't know about?
Yeah. When we open this up, I ask all of you, when you look at where you are and what are the words that are coming to mind. I do want to ask here as we begin to close, and I want to start with you, Mayor Slaughter, and we'll go quickly on this. Then what are then, from being here and being a part of this convening, give me what is your takeaway? And let me start with you, Mayor Slaughter, and we'll just give a quick sentence on thought on that, if you would.
I think it's just connections, networking, learning. As a former city council member always said, it's not, all of us are facing the same issues. It's just the common in our population. Councilmember Derek Green says that all the time, former council member. So I think that's what we have to look at. When we come to events like this, we connect with each other, we learn from each other what's working, what's not working, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Somebody's always doing it. Just learn from them and how you can take that to your city.
Mayor Scott?
I would say we all have to understand that we're all pioneers in our own field and kind of setting a journey for ourselves to help others go before us. And in that, let's make certain that we don't recycle each other. The whole goal is to expand the pot. The whole goal is expand the number of opportunities. And we have to get to a point that's not just a select few of us.
Right.
We got to expand, and that expansion creates that forward movement.
Mayor Burrell?
Well, first is the best form of flattery is imitation.
That's right.
And I am one of those people that especially being a leader in my community, and especially I grew up and born and raised in Philadelphia, so coming to a different community and being the head of a community where you didn't grow up in is a little bit different, a little bit challenging. But I'm going to take from each one of you guys. I'm learning, and I definitely appreciate each one of you guys because they have different challenges, but it's the same thing. We're all having the same challenges, different places to get there. It's really, with a population of 10,000, a lot different than 200,000.
Yeah.
It's just a lot different. But I want to tell you guys, I definitely appreciate you guys because I am going to steal from you guys.
And we should. This is to be a think tank, and when we
Exactly.
think and we get together, then let's then implement what we can in
Absolutely.
action. Mayor Small.
They say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. A convening like this, number one, has everyone networking, building relationships, and more importantly, education. Because a lot of you in the audience didn't know the challenges that we're facing as mayors. A lot of you see the glitz and glamour of Atlantic City but don't know the real problems, and we're sharing them with you. Just like when last night, to be able to have the personal cell phone number of Mayor Michael Nutter, to be able to bounce things off of him. Atlanta's former mayor, Kasim Reed. Raz Baraka, who is not only the mayor of Newark, but he is our leader in the New Jersey Urban Mayors Association. All of those things are critical because the common denominator between us all is that we represent the people. No matter what their background is, no matter if they voted for or against us, we represent the people. And if you continue to keep the people first and be bold, aggressive, and think outside the box, you'll never have to worry about winning an election. You'll always make that decision not to get what's best for your next election, but what's best for the people that you serve and represent.
Lastly, Mayor Baraka, your takeaway from the conversations that we have been engaging.
So hopefully to figure out how to build infrastructure, back office support for organizations and small businesses and people in your community so they can get access to contracts, access to capital, opportunities to grow where opportunities didn't exist before. Every city is trying to get big developers and finances to come into the city and drop money down. And that's good. It doesn't necessarily translate into upliftment. So we're trying to figure out how to lift as we climb, right? So lift everybody up. And so the back office support, talked about yesterday, making sure people get access to their money quicker, making sure people have access to capital and contracts and all the things that's necessary in order to grow. Home ownership, all of those things. And this kind of convening allows us to get the kind of skills and information to be able to begin that process.
Yeah, an impactful and a very insightful conversation. We're so glad to have our first panel here up for the National Convening of Black Mayors. We thank you so much for that. Mayor Ross Baraka, Marty Small, Darren Burrell, Frank Scott Jr., and also Derek Slaughter. We thank you so much for joining us in this conversation. Don't go anywhere. We have much more to come. This is our first panel. We have another panel coming up as we continue our discussions of what's happening with our Black mayors across the United States.